In 2025, Hollywood was rocked by the revelation that Kristopher Gifford, husband of actress Vinessa Shaw, had filed for divorce back in 2023, citing the all-too-familiar irreconcilable differences. But let's be real. That phrase is often just a placeholder for drama simmering beneath the surface. So what really tore apart their marriage? Was it fame, secrets, betrayal, or something even more scandalous? The real reason Vinessa Shaw's husband divorced her will shock you. Who is Vinessa Shaw? When Vinessa Shaw and Kristopher Gifford tied the knot in 2008, they looked like the blueprint for Hollywood love. Effortlessly stylish, low drama, and deeply in sync. The type of couple who didn't just attend red carpets together but actually liked each other. At least, that's what it looked like on the surface. But as the years rolled on, the picture-perfect image began to blur. Whispers of tension turned into visible distance, and by 2023, it was official. Gifford had filed for divorce, citing the industry's favorite catch-all excuse: irreconcilable differences. Naturally, fans were stunned. Not them, people said. They seemed solid. But like many celebrity love stories, the real story was lurking in the shadows. And now, more than a year later, the truth is clawing its way to the surface. Because, according to sources close to the couple, the divorce wasn't just about drifting apart. It was triggered by a single act, something Shaw did that allegedly left Gifford blindsided. The timing wasn't subtle either. He filed for divorce immediately after it happened. So what exactly did Vinessa Shaw do that pushed her husband of nearly 15 years over the edge? We'll get there. But first, to understand what really went down, we need to rewind all the way back to the beginning. Vinessa Elizabeth Shaw was born in Los Angeles, California, practically destined for the spotlight. Her mother, Susan Damonte, was an actress, and her father, Larry Shaw, a psychologist with academic credentials from Antioch University. The arts and intellect ran deep in the family's bloodline, but so did complexity. The name Vinessa, spelled with an I instead of the usual A, was a nod to her grandfather Vincent, a family touch that hinted at the kind of deeply personal, nonconformist path she would go on to carve. Her roots are as eclectic as they come: Russian Jewish, Italian, Irish, German, English, Mexican, Swedish, and Dutch. A blend of cultures and identities that made her both magnetic and mysterious. She was raised in the Nichiren school of Buddhism, a faith her parents embraced, and by age 10 she was already performing at UCLA acting camps. At 11, she toured with children's folk singer Peter Alsop, and by 13, she had signed with elite models. A career in entertainment wasn't just likely, it was inevitable. Her big screen debut came in the 1981 cult slasher Home Sweet Home, where she played a child threatened by a deranged killer on Thanksgiving. She was just 9. Roles in TV followed, but it was her turn in Ladybugs, opposite teen heartthrob Jonathan Brandis, that put her on the radar of early 90s teen audiences. Then came Hocus Pocus in 1993. Though the film flopped at the box office upon release, it would become a Halloween classic. And Shaw's portrayal of Allison, the confident, sharp-witted Salem teenager, sealed her place in pop culture. She had the charm, the looks, the talent, and a calm energy that set her apart from the chaos of Hollywood. So when she married Gifford, a British graphic designer turned Hollywood art director, people assumed she'd finally found her balance. But beneath the calm exterior, things were unraveling, slowly at first, then all at once. And the moment Shaw made that move, the one that pushed Gifford to walk away for good, it all came crashing down. So what was the final straw? What did Vinessa Shaw do? that broke a 15-year marriage. Keep watching because you're not going to see this coming. Career expansion. By the late 90s, Vinessa Shaw was no longer just a former child star. She was a serious actress, landing complex roles that demanded more than just good looks and charisma. In 1998, she starred opposite David Tennant in L.A. Without a Map, playing an aspiring actress trying to navigate love and ambition in the chaos of Hollywood. A character not too far removed from her real life at the time. That same year, Shaw made a bold move. She enrolled at Barnard College in New York City, flirting with the idea of stepping away from acting altogether. It was a rare moment of uncertainty, one of those crossroads in life where anything feels possible, including walking away from the very thing that's defined you since childhood. But fate, or rather, Stanley Kubrick, had other plans. While still attending Barnard, Shaw was handpicked by Kubrick to star in his final film, Eyes Wide Shut, alongside Tom Cruise. She played Domino, a sex worker with a startling vulnerability who gently warns Cruise's character about her HIV diagnosis. The scene was brief, but unforgettable, emotionally raw, eerie, and real. It was Shaw like we'd never seen her. In a later interview, Shaw revealed just how pivotal that experience was. "Stanley was the first person who actually encouraged me to keep acting," she said. "I was thinking about quitting. And then he gave me that role. It changed everything." What followed was a string of diverse and sometimes wildly unpredictable roles. In The Weight of Water, directed by Catherine Bigelow, Shaw dove into historical horror, playing a 19th-century Norwegian immigrant who becomes the victim of an axe murder in a grim true crime adaptation. From there, she pivoted hard into comedy, starring as a no-nonsense FBI agent in the Mafia spoof Corky Romano, with Chris Kattan, and later as Josh Hartnett's sassy ex in 40 Days and 40 Nights, a rom-com about celibacy and temptation. Shaw had range, serious range, but Hollywood didn't always know what to do with her. Despite her growing body of work, many of her films were modest indies or overlooked ensemble pieces. She appeared briefly in Woody Allen's Melinda and Melinda, but her role was small, almost forgettable. Then came The Hills Have Eyes, and Shaw's return to the big screen was anything but subtle. As a terrified mother hunted by mutants in the brutal New Mexico desert, Shaw brought emotional depth to a genre not exactly known for its nuance. Director Alexandra Aja had been captivated by her performance in Eyes Wide Shut and believed she could bring something new to horror, a raw, human vulnerability. Shaw was hesitant. Horror wasn't her comfort zone, but as she put it, it was more of an actor's piece, if you can believe that, in a horror movie. It was heartfelt, heartbreaking. And maybe that's what made Vinessa Shaw stand out. She didn't just play characters, she felt them, loved them. Even when the scripts were thin, she gave everything. And yet, behind the scenes, her own life was shifting in ways that would eventually spill out into public view. The truth about Hocus Pocus. Before her name was splashed across tabloids and divorce headlines, Vinessa Shaw was remembered as the fresh-faced blonde who lit up the screen in Disney's Hocus Pocus. But what fans might not realize is just how close she came to missing that moment entirely. Back in 1993, Shaw had been just a wide-eyed teenager when she first stepped onto the Disney lot for her audition. She later described the experience as surreal, almost like walking through a candy store built for dreams. At the time, Hocus Pocus was far from a guaranteed hit. In fact, Disney had made the unusual move of releasing the Halloween-themed film in the middle of July, hoping for a summer blockbuster. But the move proved a bust. Critics were unimpressed. Industry insiders were especially baffled by Bette Midler's involvement in the movie. questioning why an Oscar-caliber actress would choose a campy kids' film about witches. But, as it turned out, Midler would have the last laugh. What's even more surprising, Leonardo DiCaprio was originally supposed to read for the role of Max, Shaw's love interest in the film. Shaw had known DiCaprio from her earlier work in television and remembered that he was considered for the part. But in the end, he never showed up for the chemistry read, reportedly choosing to audition for What's Eating Gilbert Grape instead, a decision that would earn him an Oscar nomination and launch his meteoric rise. The role of Max eventually went to Omri Katz, and Shaw was cast as Allison, the sharp, confident teen who helps battle the Sanderson sisters. Thora Birch, who played Max's little sister, Danny, would become one of Shaw's closest allies on set. Shaw later admitted that she had always seen Birch like a younger sister, someone who, like her, had survived the whirlwind of child stardom and emerged on the other side still grounded. Among her vivid memories from filming were the cats. So many cats. Over 60 different felines had been trained for the role of Thackeray Binks, each taught to perform only one or two specific tricks. Shaw remembered the painstaking effort it took to shoot just one scene where the cat had to leap onto the spellbook and close it. They had to repeat the take endlessly, adjusting for missed cues, timing issues, and, as anyone who's worked with cats knows, general feline defiance. Hocus Pocus may have flopped at the box office, but it gained cult status in the years that followed. By the time Shaw was in her 40s, the film was being aired dozens of times every October. She often expressed her surprise and delight at the movie's legacy, saying she would jump at the chance to reprise her role if a reboot ever materialized. The reboot did materialize, but Shaw chose not to reprise her role. But while the world was celebrating her on-screen nostalgia, things in Shaw's real life were quietly unraveling. In 2008, Shaw married graphic designer Kristopher Gifford. To most, their union seemed like a rare Hollywood success story. Low profile, scandal-free, and quietly enduring. For years, they appeared rock solid. But behind the scenes, something had shifted. What had once been a steady foundation began to show its cracks. And in 2023, after nearly 15 years together, Gifford filed for divorce, citing the ever-vague irreconcilable differences. At the time, people accepted the explanation at face value. But more than a year later, the real story is beginning to emerge. Insiders close to the couple now suggest that Gifford's decision to walk away wasn't exactly spontaneous. It was triggered, and not by the usual Hollywood fare of infidelity or scandal, but by something more personal. Something Shaw did, or perhaps something she revealed, that made Gifford decide enough is enough. For years, he had stood by her through career highs and lows, through festival circuits, and the quiet stretches in between. But then came the moment, the turning point that changed everything. So what did Vinessa Shaw really do that made her husband file for divorce abruptly and with finality? Keep watching to find out. But first, how did the two meet? How did Vinessa Shaw and her husband meet? For most of her career, Vinessa Shaw kept her private life just that, private. Despite a filmography that spanned cult classics, edgy thrillers, and indie darlings, she rarely let the public peek into her personal world. But when news broke of her divorce from graphic designer Kristopher Gifford, many were surprised not just by the split, but by the quiet unraveling of what once seemed like one of Hollywood's most grounded relationships. The story began back in 2007, when Shaw quietly began dating Gifford. At the time, he was a rising creative force in graphic design, known more within industry circles than in celebrity gossip columns. The couple got engaged just a year later. Still, rather than chasing headlines with a high-profile wedding, they opted for something more intimate, a low-key ceremony in 2017 that flew almost entirely under the radar. For years, theirs seemed like a love that thrived off-camera. Every so often, Shaw offered rare glimpses of their relationship on social media, subtle nods that showed warmth, but never invited scrutiny. One of the last such posts appeared in July 2023, when she marked her 46th birthday with a smiling photo of the couple at an axe-throwing range. It was casual, sweet, and playful. The kind of image that suggested a marriage still full of inside jokes and affection. But just months later, things would take a turn. What fans didn't know was that the birthday post would be the last time Shaw publicly acknowledged Gifford. Behind the smiles, their foundation was quietly shifting. Part of their bond had been forged through shared milestones, none greater than the birth of their son Jack in early 2018. On March 2nd of that year, Shaw had taken to Instagram to share the life-changing news. In the post, she revealed that Jack had arrived nearly 3 weeks past his due date on February 20th, and that his birth had been anything but smooth. She wrote that their plans for a natural birth were upended by complications, leading to a long, arduous labor that tested her in ways she hadn't expected. She expressed joy at their new arrival, but also acknowledged the difficulty of the experience. According to Shaw, she and Jack had gone through a lot together, a phrase that hinted at both physical and emotional turbulence. She credited the support of family, midwives, and hospital staff for helping them come through what she described as a victory, healthy, happy, and transformed. That post radiated gratitude and love, not just for her newborn, but for the village that had surrounded her. At the time, it seemed like the Shaw-Gifford household had been deepened by the kind of raw, real experience that often fortifies a relationship. And perhaps, for a while, it did. But somewhere between then and now, that bond began to fray. And by 2023, the quiet cracks in their foundation had widened into a rift impossible to ignore. Gifford filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, the Hollywood standby that often conceals more than it reveals. Yet, to those paying attention, the signs were there. The social media silence, the dwindling mentions, and the unmistakable shift in tone. So what really happened between Vinessa Shaw and Kristopher Gifford? What changed in the months between the birthday axe-throwing photo and the silent unraveling that followed? Who is Vinessa Shaw's husband? While Vinessa Shaw has often captured the spotlight with her on-screen performances, her husband, Kristopher Gifford, has built a distinguished career quietly behind the scenes, far from red carpets and press tours. An artist by training and a set designer by profession, Gifford has spent years working in Hollywood's art departments, contributing to major film projects without the fanfare that typically accompanies them. Before he ever stepped onto a film set, Gifford's world revolved around ceramic design. He studied the craft intensively and earned his honors degree from Central St. Martin's in London in 2000. His early career reflected a strong European influence, from crafting magnetic ring holders that were displayed across galleries to installing experimental works for Nike in Sweden. But it wasn't until 2004 that his gaze shifted dramatically. In his own words, Gifford once explained that his move into film happened unexpectedly. He had been given an opportunity to work on Ridley Scott's epic Kingdom of Heaven in Morocco, and it was there in the set decorating department that he discovered a new kind of artistic calling. He reportedly said he caught the bug while working on that project and never looked back. His momentum in the industry quickly accelerated. By 2007, he had contributed to blockbusters like Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. Later, his name appeared in the credits of visually ambitious productions such as Deepwater Horizon, Fantastic Four, and Space Jam: A New Legacy, a testament to his versatility across genres and styles. Away from the studio lots, Gifford's Instagram painted a different portrait. one not of big-budget films, but of pine trees, mountains, and fast-moving rivers. An avid outdoorsman, Gifford often documented his nature-filled adventures. In 2016, Shaw joined him on one such escapade, posing together against a rugged mountainside backdrop. The next year, he posted clips of himself mountain biking through untamed trails. And in 2022, a peaceful video of a flowing mountain river underscored his enduring love for the wild. Despite their careers in Hollywood, Shaw and Gifford seemed to favor a quieter version of celebrity life. Even their anniversary celebrations came with a dose of humor and humility. In 2017, Shaw posted a tribute on Instagram to mark what she believed was their 10-year wedding anniversary. But, as she later revealed, the couple had miscalculated. They were actually celebrating 9 years. After her mother pointed out the error, Shaw returned to Instagram a year later to properly mark the real 10th anniversary. In her caption, she wrote that she loved Gifford even more than during their last 10th anniversary, noting with joy that their baby was on the way. She thanked him for making her laugh and love a lot harder, a touching glimpse into their dynamic. Their pregnancy announcement had also carried a unique, personal flair. In August 2017, Shaw, best known for her role in Hocus Pocus, revealed the news with a nod to the cult classic, posting a photo featuring a pregnancy test and a playful reference to the film. The announcement garnered thousands of likes and congratulations from fans and fellow actors alike. Their son, Jack, was born on February 20th, 2018, 2.5 weeks after his due date. Shaw took to Instagram again, this time with a black and white photo of her fingers wrapped around Jack's tiny foot. The caption, however, was not all lighthearted. She shared that the birth had been challenging. Their plan for a natural delivery had been upended by complications, resulting in a long and difficult labor. In her post, she wrote that she and Jack had gone through a lot together, but ultimately emerged healthy and happy, thanks to the tireless support of family, midwives, and hospital staff. Since Jack's arrival, it seems Gifford passed on more than just his artistic DNA. On Father's Day in 2022, Shaw paid tribute to her husband, describing him as the kind of father who kindled Jack's curiosity and love for the outdoors. It was a sentiment that captured not just fatherhood, but Gifford's essence, a man rooted in creativity, adventure, and quiet dedication. The real reason Vinessa Shaw's husband filed for a divorce. Vinessa Shaw and her husband, Kristopher Gifford, have quietly arrived at the end of their long-standing union. After more than 15 years of marriage, Gifford officially filed for divorce from the Hocus Pocus actress on May 22, 2025, citing irreconcilable differences as the reason for the split. The court documents, first obtained by People and initially reported by TMZ, revealed that the couple's date of separation was listed as October 25, 2023, just weeks before what would have marked their 16th wedding anniversary. According to the filing, Gifford is requesting joint legal and physical custody of their 7-year-old son, Jack. Notably, he is not seeking spousal support, a detail that suggests the separation, while emotionally significant, may have been handled with mutual understanding behind the scenes. Shaw, who has often kept her life private, has not commented publicly on the development. Her representatives also did not respond to inquiries from People as of May 24th. Although the formal divorce filing only came this May, signs that something had shifted began surfacing months earlier. The last time Shaw publicly acknowledged Gifford on her social media was in July 2023, when she shared a playful photo of them together at an axe-throwing range in celebration of her 46th birthday. Smiling and in good spirits, the post gave no immediate indication of marital tension. But in hindsight, it now reads like a closing chapter, a final, fleeting glimpse into a partnership that was nearing its quiet end. A month before that, Gifford had featured in another post on Shaw's Instagram, this time in a tender moment with their son. It was Father's Day, and Shaw had captioned the photo simply and sweetly, "Father's Day," alongside a heartwarming image of Gifford hugging Jack. The photo resonated with followers, capturing the warmth of family life without revealing the unraveling taking place behind the scenes. On his own Instagram, Gifford marked what would become his final public tribute to his wife on July 4, 2023. He posted an image of Shaw standing before an American flag, a patriotic, if cryptic, homage. By then, the tone of their social media had already begun to shift, pulling back from couplehood to more individual expressions. In the weeks following their official separation in late October, Gifford's online presence took on a noticeably reflective, even philosophical tone. On November 12, 2023, less than a month after the breakup, he shared a striking passage that hinted at emotional turbulence and the inner work of moving forward. The quote read, "In part, indulgence and indolence produce nothing creative. Complaints and evasions reflect a cowardly spirit." Though he offered no context, the message was telling. It spoke to the emotional presence of a man navigating the aftermath of a broken partnership. The message was a blend of disappointment, self-reckoning, and resolve. Both Shaw and Gifford share a deep-rooted commitment to Buddhism, and their spiritual practice has often informed their personal philosophies and public expressions. The choice of thacular quote, sharp, contemplative, and unsparing, hinted at Gifford's attempt to process the separation not through bitterness or blame, but through introspection. While the full details of what led to the collapse of their nearly two-decade relationship remain private, the timeline tells its own quiet story, one of two people who built a life together, raised a child, and ultimately parted ways not with spectacle, but with restraint. Whether their silence signals peace or pain is unknown, but for those who have followed their story from afar, this chapter marks the end of an era for a couple who once seemed to have found something rare in Hollywood: longevity. Vinessa Shaw's controversies. Vinessa Shaw's life and career have had their fair share of highs and lows. Best known for roles in Hocus Pocus and Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, Shaw has spent decades in the spotlight, but not always for the reasons she might have hoped. Back in 2014, Vinessa Shaw was hit with a lawsuit after two women claimed she struck them with her car while they were walking through a crosswalk in Hollywood. The incident, which happened on November 6, 2013, involved pedestrians Maridalia Chepi Nolasco and Anastasia Gregorio Arce. According to legal documents and a report from TMZ, both women said they had the green light when Shaw turned a corner and hit them, causing what they described as severe injuries. They filed a civil suit against Shaw nearly a year after the accident, placing full responsibility on the actress. At the time, Shaw was 38. Though the case made headlines, LAPD's West Traffic Division confirmed that Shaw was not arrested. Police found no crime had been committed. The crash happened at the intersection of Franklin Avenue and Wilton Street, a busy spot in the Franklin Village area, just steps from the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, known for launching the careers of many top comedians and Saturday Night Live stars. While the legal process played out in civil court, the case became one of the more public challenges in Shaw's life, showing that even long-standing Hollywood careers aren't immune to real-world consequences. Yet, long before this chapter, Shaw had already made a lasting mark in Hollywood. In 1999, Vinessa Shaw took on one of her most memorable roles, playing a sex worker named Domino in Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. The film, starring Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, was Kubrick's final project before his death that same year. Known for his intense attention to detail and obsession with perfection, Kubrick's movies had always pushed the limits. But Eyes Wide Shut took things even further, mixing mystery, sex, and power in a story that fascinated and shocked audiences around the world. At the time, Shaw was still in college, trying to figure out her future. She'd been a child actor, but wasn't sure acting could really become her full-time career. That changed once she worked with Kubrick. "Stanley was very influential in my life," she said in an interview. "He was the first person who told me I should keep acting." That confidence boost pushed her to fully commit to her craft, leading to roles in films like Wayward Son L, The Weight of Water, Corkyo, and 40 Days and 40 Nights. Working with Kubrick wasn't easy. His perfectionism was notorious in the film industry. One scene, a 13-minute conversation between Cruise's character and Sidney Pollack's, took more than 3 weeks to film. There were rumors that Pollack, being a director himself, clashed with Kubrick over how things should be done. But most believe it simply came down to Kubrick's extreme standards. The production dragged on for over 400 days, and the cast and crew were warned to settle in for the long haul. Kubrick's methods were intense. He famously made crews walk through a doorway 95 times just to get one short moment exactly right. Shaw, who had originally signed on for a 2-week shoot, ended up filming for 2 months. Still, for many actors involved, the experience was unforgettable. Kubrick, who once told Cruise, "Stick with me, I'll make you a star," left behind a movie that's still talked about decades later and gave Shaw the career clarity she'd been searching for. Do you think we'll get to know the real reason Kristopher divorced Shaw? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video that pops up. You won't want to miss it.